This video offers instruction on how to set up a Mac or PC to use Turning Technologies clicker software. There are 3 steps to setting up a computer for clickers. First is to acquire a clicker instructors kit from the bookstore. Next is to set up software needed for polling and course management. And then finally, you should run a trial session with the hardware to make sure everything is working properly. So, step 1, acquire an instructor's kit from the bookstore. An instructor's kit consists of software on a yellow thumb drive designed for both the Mac or the PC. One of the programs is known as Turning Point Anywhere, a type of polling software. Note that the thumb drive will not include another program that Turning makes called Turning Point, but we'll talk about how to acquire that in a moment. Another piece of software is known as Results Manager, which is for course management. Then in the instructor's kit, you'll find 2 hardware items, a USB transceiver, also known as a thumb hub, and a clicker, which in this particular case will be a response card NXT, the type of clicker from Turning that we use on the Fitchburg State campus. Note that the instructor's kit can be picked up at the campus bookstore by any faculty member formally adopting clickers in their course. It means the bookstore can then order clickers for the students to purchase and bring to their classes. So, step 2, let's talk about setting up the software. First of all, you need to think about which programs you'll want to use. Then you should go to the Turning Technologies website to download the most current versions. Certainly you can start with the software in the thumb drive, but you should go to the website for the most current version, and you'll probably even be prompted to do that. So let's talk about the polling software. As I mentioned earlier, there are 2 choices, either Turning Point, also known as TP, or Turning Point Anywhere, TPAW. You should choose Turning Point if you want to pose questions embedded within a PowerPoint presentation. You should choose Turning Point if you want additional functions for competition, data slicing, and so on. Turning Point comes with a few more bells and whistles than Turning Point Anywhere. You should choose Turning Point if you have a Windows PC currently. In other words, currently Mac users can't use Turning Point, they can only use Turning Point Anywhere. On the other hand, a Windows PC user can choose either Turning Point or Turning Point Anywhere as you prefer, based on some of these considerations. Note also that installation is required to create a plugin within PowerPoint for Turning Point Anywhere to operate. Now, you should choose Turning Point Anywhere if you want to pose questions outside of PowerPoint. For example, to use Acrobat or Keynote as a means for presenting questions, or to write the questions on a drawing tablet, or to present the questions verbally by voice, or to write on a board off screen. There are a number of ways that you can pose questions, and yet Turning Point Anywhere will be able to record the responses accordingly. You should choose Turning Point Anywhere if you want better handling of on-the-fly questions. In other words, your ability to be able to introduce questions as you go, as opposed to planning them well ahead, as is the case for using Turning Point, for the most part. You should choose Turning Point Anywhere if you have a Mac currently. And in fact, Turning Point Anywhere is the only choice in version 4 that currently works with the Mac. That will change in the new version 5, so that both Macs and PCs will have the choice of using either Turning Point or Turning Point Anywhere. You should choose Turning Point Anywhere if you want to run off of a thumb drive when using Podium Thin clients. Note that in this case, no install means installation is not required to acquire and set up the programs, and we'll cover what that means in just a moment. Now for course management, there is Results Manager and only Results Manager available from Turning Tech, but you may not need it. You will need it if you want to manage polling results for grading or taking attendance. This is based on a participant list created from a clicker registration roster that you download from Blackboard. This basically links the individual students with the specific clickers that they're using in class. On the other hand, you may not need Results Manager if you're doing polling anonymously, where you're not trying to keep track of the results, the performance, the data from individual students. Now next is actually setting up the software. As I said, you're encouraged to download the most current versions of the software you've decided to use from the Turning Technologies website, www.turningtechnologies.com. On the website, you should choose the legacy versions for now, and I'll illustrate what that means in just a moment. In other words, don't choose the most current version, which just came out, version 5. Choose the legacy versions for now. Those are the ones that we'll be supporting on campus, at least early this academic year. We plan a campus upgrade to the new version 5 in 2013, but we want to go to that process slowly so it can be fully supported. Now note that some files available on the website for download come in install and no install versions. You'll need the install versions for Turning Point on a PC. This is because installation is required to create the PowerPoint plugin to allow Turning Point to work integratively within PowerPoint. Note that a separate copy of PowerPoint will be created, which will be called Turning Point, which will make it easier to keep track and run separately Turning Point sessions in some courses and PowerPoint sessions in others. You should get the no install versions of the software for Turning Point Anywhere and Results Manager. These will be suitable for use on either a Mac or a PC. And as I've noted before, the virtue of the no install versions of Turning Point Anywhere and Results Manager is that they can be run from a thumb drive on PC thin clients in many classrooms on campus. Here is the home page for the Turning Technologies website. To download software, go to the support page and click on the Software Downloads button. Notice there are a number of other support mechanisms available on this page that you might want to become more familiar with. For example, Turning Technologies maintains a technical support line available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. by calling either of these phone numbers. You can also contact them through email and a technical support form. I have found them very helpful and readily available. There are not long waiting lines on the phone in order to get answers to even the simplest of questions. They're also available here for downloads, support guides and manuals. There are a number of tutorials available online that are similar to, but also in many cases extend the kind of tutorials that we're offering in our own videos. And they also have available a variety of product training sessions that you can sign up for and get more information, more help in learning how to use Turning Technologies software and hardware. So let's click on the software page or button, and what you will find on this page is a listing of software. Note that it mentions a current release. This is the new Turning Point, which is version 5, which is just currently available, but we would like to have all current users to stick with the so-called legacy version, which is available under this tab. So there's Turning Point and Turning Point Anywhere polling software, and then also Results Manager. In each case, you have an opportunity to choose to download software by clicking on the hyperlink based on whether you use a PC or a Mac, and whether you're getting an install version or no install version. And as I indicated earlier, we recommend that PC users may get Turning Point, get the install version, and when you download that and activate it, it will install a plugin in your copy of PowerPoint. For Turning Point Anywhere, both Mac and PC users should download the no install version, which will create a program on your computer that can be used and is compatible with any means for presenting questions, not just PowerPoint. And then finally, Results Manager has both a Mac and a PC version, and we recommend downloading and using the no install version. So you click on these, you will find that when you click on them for download, it will prompt you to register, which simply means providing your name and email and some additional information about yourself. They use this to keep track of those who are downloading and using the software, but once you've entered this, you will very quickly go into the download mode and get a copy of the software. So it's not at all disruptive. It simply allows them to keep track of who's using their software. And of course, all of this is entirely free for use. With any upgrade, all users are entitled to free upgrades, no charge. Finally, step 3 is to run a trial session with the hardware. To do that, you should open up the polling software that you've downloaded, either Turning Point or Turning Point Anywhere. You should plug in the transceiver into an available USB port. Within the software, under Preferences on a Mac, or what's called Settings on a PC, select the radio frequency channel that you've been assigned. On the NXT clicker, enter the same radio frequency channel. And you should see the video that I prepared and posted on how to use an NXT clicker if you need further help or instructions on that. Then you should perform a polling test, which confirms that the software via the transceiver and the clicker can communicate. And finally, you should run a trial session with a sample question that will further confirm that the software and hardware are all working well together. So let me demonstrate how to do a polling test and to run a trial session in Turning Point Anywhere on Windows. So we open up the Turning Point Anywhere that has been installed on the computer. And up comes this menu that includes an indication that the receiver, the transceiver, thumb hub in this case, has been recognized and is set for channel 41. If I click on that, it'll take me to response devices, which is in the settings window, and displays that the particular transceiver, which is indicated here, is set to channel 41. Now this is a drop-down menu, and I could use this to change the radio frequency channel to something else, in this case in a large range between 0 and 82. You should choose the channel that has been assigned you, because the different channels need to be kept separate so that there won't be interference between clicker sessions in adjacent classrooms. So in this case, I'm going to remain with the channel that I've been assigned, which is channel 41. Now from here, I click on Polling Test to perform the polling test. And this will essentially open up a test which will allow the use of the clicker. And when I click on 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, in turn, those responses will be indicated here for the specific clicker that I have, which has this device ID number. So this confirms that the clicker and the transceiver are communicating properly on channel 41. In other words, they're set to the same channel and they're communicating. So with that, I can end the test. Now, to run a trial session, I click on Poll, which opens up what's called the show bar. I'm going to drag it over here, where the Start button can be used to open up polling. I'm also going to open up a PowerPoint window where I've created a simple question. Today is, with 5 answer choices on a single slide. And I'll open that as a presentation. Notice that the show bar hovers over the top of that so that it can be displayed. And I will use the drop-down menu here to set this up so that it has 5 answers. And now notice that it says polling open. I will click a response on the clicker that I have to show that a response has been entered. The clicker itself should also give a positive indication, a smiley face, as it turns out, to demonstrate that the transceiver, the software, has sent a message to the clicker to say that it's received the answer that's been submitted. Then I close that polling. Notice it says polling closed, and I click on this button that says charts to display the result, in this case a single answer, answer C, which corresponds to Wednesday in the choices. So this demonstrates in a very simple way that not only is there communication between the clicker and the instructor's computer via the thumb hub or transceiver, that it also can handle running a very simple polling session, including collecting responses and being able to display them on a simple chart. To perform a polling test and run a trial session in Turning Point on Windows, I double-click on the icon on the desktop to open up PowerPoint that has the Turning Point plugin installed. It automatically goes to the Turning Point plugin tab in this copy of PowerPoint. Now, first of all, to perform the polling test, I click on Tools and go down to Settings. This opens up a settings window that's very similar to what we saw using Turning Point Anywhere. And for that matter, this is very similar to what you would find on the Mac under what's called Preferences rather than Settings. Let's click on Polling Tests. Same kind of window as with TPAW. We start the tests and then respond by pressing individual buttons on the NXT clicker 2, 5, 8, 9. In each case, the response is indicated here. It indicates that we're operating mutually on channel 41 and that it recognizes the clicker ID of the NXT clicker that I'm using. So this is a successful polling test that confirms that this software is communicating through the transceiver that is operating through this channel with the clicker that I'm using. So let's close that. And then to do a very simple trial session, we'll use the facility of PowerPoint with this plugin to create a turning point slide. And so I click on the Insert Slide button. I'm going to go all the way down to Generic Slides, which will be very similar to what we used in Turning Point Anywhere. Click on 5 answers. And that will insert a slide that has a place to enter a question. So I'm going to say today is, and then offer choices. And once I start entering choices, it inserts a graph that will, or chart that will display the results once the question is polled. And I'll give the answers as I did before. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Click off of that. And then in this first slide, I'm simply going to say test session. So I'll have a slide to start with. And then when I start the presentation, this first slide is not a turning point slide. But when I go to the next slide, which is a turning point slide, a show bar is opened at the top of the screen to indicate that once this slide has been opened, it also automatically opens polling. At this point, I will enter a response on the clicker. That will be shown in this part of the show bar at the top. And then to close polling, I simply advance the slide by clicking one of the cursor keys, or I could have clicked on the screen. That will close polling, and in this case, immediately display the result of that polling. In this case, I had clicked on answer D for Thursday. So here again, within Turning Point, installed as a plugin within PowerPoint, I've demonstrated very much the same thing as I demonstrated with Turning Point Anywhere. That is, in a simple trial session, that the software works to be able to open and close polling, collect responses, and display the results after the polling has been closed. Now, once you've achieved this, you're ready to dive in and really get acquainted with using clickers in your classroom. And this is the end of this video on setting up a computer to run clicker sessions.